There's a truth most men never learn. You don't destroy an argument by speaking louder. You destroy it by no longer needing to win. Every battle of words is a mirror, showing what still controls you. Anger, pride, the hunger to be seen as right, but truth doesn't argue. It simply is. The wisest men do not chase victory. They dissolve it. They let the noise pass through them like wind through stone, because they understand when the ego leaves, only reason remains. So the question is not, how do you win? The real question is, why do you still need to? In every argument, there is a hidden test, not of intelligence, but of mastery. The one who can stay calm in chaos already owns the battlefield. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It is the sound of someone who no longer bleeds energy to prove himself. So I'll ask you, when someone attacks your truth, can you stand still enough to let it stand on its own? You want to be understood, to be held, to feel that your truth matters. But when someone challenges you, something tightens inside, a fire rises, sharp, defensive, cold. You don't just want to explain yourself. You want to win. You tell yourself it's about justice, about logic, about being right. But beneath that armor, it's fear. Fear of being dismissed. Fear of being invisible. You've mistaken noise for strength, reaction for conviction. And every time you argue, a part of your peace dies in the crossfire. You scroll through debates online, you replay old conversations in your head, crafting the perfect comeback that never came. You win imaginary wars and still feel empty. You've built a mind that defends instead of understands, that fights instead of listens. And in that fight, you've lost the one thing that can't be taken by words, your stillness. You've become fluent in resistance, but illiterate in peace. So ask yourself, when you argue, are you defending truth, or are you protecting the illusion of control? Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Most people think arguments happen between two minds. But every argument begins within one. It's not your opponent you're fighting. It's your own reaction, your trembling need to prove, to defend, to be seen. That's where the true conflict lives. The Stoics saw this long before psychology gave it language. They called it apatheia, the state beyond disturbance, where emotion obeys reason and reason obeys truth. Picture your mind as a fortress. Outside, a storm rages, accusations, insults, misunderstandings. Inside, torches flicker, walls shake. The gates tremble under pressure. The weak man rushes out swinging. He fights wind with fists. The wise man stays within the walls. He watches. He listens. He lets the storm wear itself out, because he knows no argument can touch a mind that does not consent to chaos. Modern psychology calls it response inhibition, the pause before reaction. That moment of awareness when you see the anger rise and you do nothing. That is the moment of power. Every second you stay still, the fire in others consumes itself. Every silence becomes a mirror, showing who's truly in control. So the battlefield isn't out there. It's in here, inside the fortress of your attention. Master that, and no argument can survive. When you finally see that every argument begins within, you stop looking outward for victory. You start training the mind, the only battlefield that matters. The Stoics called this practice askesis, disciplined exercise of the soul. These are not tactics to dominate others. They are disciplines to dominate yourself. 5 laws for silence in the storm. 1. Detach. Detachment is the foundation of every Stoic confrontation. When someone attacks your ideas, your ego wants to rise, to defend, to strike. The impulse to react is natural, but it is not truth. True power lies not in clinging to your opinions, but in releasing the need to control how others perceive them. Detach from the illusion that you are defined by the argument. You are not your beliefs. You are not your pride. You are the observer of your thoughts, a silent presence that does not tremble at provocation. Each time you react impulsively, you surrender your energy, handing your inner calm to a stranger. The storm of words only has power over the one who consents to it. In practice, detachment is simple, though not easy. Breathe, pause. Step back mentally. See the argument as a scene playing out outside your fortress, not within Italiano. Notice the emotional hooks, the flare of anger, the rush of indignation, and refuse to feed them. Imagine standing on a cliff, the wind howling and rain slicing across your face. The storm rages, relentless, trying to push you over the edge. But you do not move. You watch. You feel the rain and the wind, but your feet remain firm. Detachment is that cliff, unmoving, unmoved, unbroken. The more you practice this, the less every debate becomes a battle. The more you see the truth of others without needing to dominate it, the lighter your mind becomes. In detachment, there is clarity. In detachment, there is freedom. And in freedom, no argument can touch you. 2. Observe. Observation is the art of seeing beyond the surface. Most people argue to react, to speak, to defend. Few argue to truly understand. To observe is to step outside the immediate noise and examine the patterns, the rhythm, the undercurrent of thought and emotion behind every word. When someone confronts you, resist the urge to interrupt or rebut. Instead, watch, listen, track the subtle cues, tone, hesitation, repetition. Watch how pride distorts logic, how fear disguises itself as aggression. These are the hidden truths in every debate. Observation is also a mirror. By watching others, you learn about yourself. Which words ignite your anger? Which opinions threaten your calm? Where does your pride lie, silently controlling your reaction? To observe is to turn the battlefield inward as well as outward. Picture sitting in a quiet room while a storm rages outside. The wind rattles the windows, rain slams the roof, and yet you remain still. Eyes open, heart steady. You do not flee. You do not react. You watch the storm, understanding its patterns. Observation gives you this power in the human world. The ability to see through chaos without being swept away. Through observation, arguments lose their sharp edges. You see the shape of the conflict before it touches you. You notice the weak spots, the contradictions, the human frailty behind every loud claim. You become a student of the moment, a silent witness. And in that silence, you gain mastery over what truly matters, your own mind. 3. Endure. Endurance is the crucible of character. It is easy to remain calm when the world is still. It is only under pressure that true strength is forged. Every argument tests endurance. The anger of others is fire. Their misinterpretations are knives. Their insistence is relentless wind against your face. To endure is to sit within discomfort without surrendering your peace. It is not passivity. It is strength in stillness. The Stoics called this ascesis, the disciplined exercise of the soul. Each moment you resist the pull of reactive emotion. Each time you allow silence to stretch rather than answer immediately. You forge resilience. Picture yourself in a forest during a storm. Lightning strikes. Rain pours. The earth trembles. Yet you remain in the center, unmoving, grounded, observing the chaos. Endurance is that forest. It does not fight the storm, nor does it flee. It holds. Psychology calls this response inhibition, the deliberate pause between stimulus and reaction. Every argument presents the opportunity to train this muscle. The more you endure, the more power you reclaim from the chaos of human interaction. Each unspoken insult, each avoided retort, strengthens the inner citadel of your mind. Endurance also teaches humility. You realize that control over yourself is the only victory worth pursuing. External validation fades. Inner stability becomes the true prize. And when the storm finally subsides, you emerge not only unscathed, but fortified. 4. Clarify. Clarity is the weapon of the calm. Most arguments rage because words are misused, assumptions remain unspoken, and the mind seeks victory rather than understanding. To clarify is to strip the conversation of illusions, to pierce through ego, and to confront only what is real. When you speak, do so deliberately. Your goal is not to silence, humiliate, or dominate. Your goal is truth. Ask questions that illuminate. What exactly do you mean? Which facts would change your perspective? In these moments, the argument transforms. What was once a battlefield becomes a study of thought, a dialogue of minds. Clarity also exposes your own mind. As you dissect the conversation, you notice your hidden biases, your triggers, your prideful assumptions. Each time you pause to define, to question, to simplify, you expand the space between impulse and reaction. You become the master of both the words spoken and the emotions they stir. Imagine standing on a mist-covered lake at dawn. The fog obscures the shore. The water ripples uncertainly. Speaking without clarity is like rowing blind, striking stones beneath the surface. Clarity is the sunrise, cutting through fog, revealing what is true and what is illusion. Through clarity, chaos loses its edge. Arguments no longer drain you because you are no longer participating in a war of noise. You ask, you understand, you respond with precision. And the power of the moment rests not in defeating another, but in mastering the mind that listens, discerns, and acts wisely. 5. Withdraw. Withdrawal is the final discipline, the recognition that some battles are not yours to fight. Wisdom knows when presence is power and when absence is strength. To withdraw is not surrender. It is strategy, a quiet defense of your inner citadel. Arguments often escalate into cycles of futility. Pride, ego, and unresolved pain fuel endless noise. To stay engaged in every debate is to scatter your energy, to allow chaos to occupy the fortress of your mind. Withdrawal preserves the only thing that cannot be taken: your peace. Practice withdrawal with intention. Step back, not in fear, but with calm authority. Observe the argument from a distance. Let the voices rage. Let the words twist and spiral. You do not chase. You do not react. You let time, clarity, and reason do what your ego cannot. Imagine a lone figure standing on a cliff as the tide crashes below. The sea is violent, unpredictable, yet the figure remains unmoved, unshaken. That is withdrawal, presence without participation, strength without struggle, silence as victory. Withdrawal is also an act of self-respect. Some minds cannot be reasoned with. Some hearts cannot be touched. By leaving, you demonstrate that your energy, attention, and peace are yours alone. You conserve the sacred space within, allowing growth, reflection, and calm to flourish. Through withdrawal, you learn the ultimate Stoic truth. The world may demand noise, conflict, and reaction, but the wise man answers only to himself. No argument, no insult, no chaos can breach the walls of the fortified mind. You walk away unbroken, whole, and sovereign. When the argument ends, silence returns. But it's not the same silence as before. This one feels earned, heavier, cleaner, alive. You stand in the ashes of words that no longer matter. The storm has passed, and the air tastes different. You realize you didn't win. You simply stopped needing to. This is what the Stoics meant by freedom. Not the absence of conflict, but the absence of disturbance. The power to remain untouched, even as the world rages around you. You begin to see that peace is not a gift. It's the reward for restraint. For every moment, you could have reacted, but didn't. For every time you chose understanding over pride, imagine this moment, dawn breaking over a quiet battlefield. Smoke still rising from the ground, and you standing alone, calm/unscarred. Not because you destroyed the enemy, but because you mastered the only one that mattered, yourself. The world will keep speaking, shouting, testing, but you'll move through it like water through flame. You've learned the discipline of calm, and now silence is your victory. This is the peace after the fire. Not empty, but full. not passive, but powerful. The kind of peace that doesn't need to prove itself, because it already is. In the end, every argument is a test of architecture, not of words, but of walls. The weak build their fortress from noise, opinions, and pride. The strong build it from silence. You owe no one your peace. Guard it like a fortress carved from stone, because once you learn to be unmoved, no insult can touch you, no chaos can enter, and no man can take what you no longer give. Remember, tease, the loudest voice in the room, often hides the weakest mind, but the quiet one, the still one, that's the man who has already won. So let them talk. Let them twist your words, doubt your truth, misread your calm. While they burn for validation, you remain untouched, awake, watching. That is mastery. That is strength. That is the timeless Stoic mind. Silence is the final argument of the wise. Slow pause, breath between each phrase. Build your fortress, keep it sacred, keep it still. Subscribe to Timeless Stoic Mind and keep building the fortress within.